What is this nonsense I'm reading? Wolfstreet.com. Americans suddenly sour on the housing market. I thought I was the only one who soured on the housing market. We couldn't get that one house. So I said, screw it, we'll just wait. He says it's a great time to sell and a bad time to buy, they think. Americans have been gung-ho in recent years about the housing market, bidding up prices with gusto as they went. The election helped. By February, the Fannie Mae Home Purchase Sentiment Index, also known as HPSI, had shot up to 88.3, which was up 5.6 points year over year, and the highest ever in the data series going back to at least 2011. But since then, some dark clouds have appeared. Quick, look surprised. And other dark clouds have been out there for a while, but by some measures, the darkest in the data series. The index itself looks benign. In May, it fell half a percentage point. I don't know if it's a percentage, but half a point to 86.2, down 2.1 points from its peak in February, but still up 0.9 points year over year. But there are clouds, according to Doug Duncan, Senior Vice President and Chief Economist at none other than Fannie Mae. He says, high home prices have led many consumers to give us the first clear indication we've seen in the National Housing Survey's 7-year history that they think it's now a seller's market. It's a seller's market suddenly. But these people have a problem. If they try to sell, according to Duncan, many potential sellers are unwilling or unable to put their homes on the market, perhaps due in part to concerns over finding an affordable replacement home. So they're stuck because home prices have soared, and if they would like to sell to profit from the high prices, they might not because they can't afford the high price and the mortgage payment of the home they'd have to buy. Make sense? Welcome to the pleasures of Housing Bubble 2. So a bad time to buy. Fannie Mae survey, the most detailed consumer attitudinal survey of its kind, as it says, threw some very untoward data points into the mix. Americans who say it's a bad time to buy surged 6 points from April to 33%, the highest ever in the data series. What's that? Let's try that again. Americans who say it is a bad time to buy, not a good time, a bad time to buy, surged 6 points from April to 33%, which is the highest ever in the series, the data series. And then the other point they make, Americans who say it's a good time to buy fell 2 points from April to 60%, tying, by the way, for the lowest level in the data series. An increasingly bad time to buy a home. First of all, if you want to, let's just take a little gander at this. All right, this little purple one here, good time to buy a home. And the red one, bad time to buy a home. As you can see, this goes back to 2010. You can see the good time to buy a home. Right around 2013, the party ended. And since then, we are on a downward curve. This is not a one-off. This is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This is a trend. Good time to buy a home are going down. The ratings or the people surveyed, more and more are saying it's not a good time. And on the other hand, those who said it's a bad time to buy a home, same story. Back in 2010 to 2013, that number was going down too, meaning they were wrong. It wasn't a bad time to buy a home. It was actually a good time to buy a home. But now all of a sudden, again, same time frame, 2013, exactly the same time. Now it's got an upline trend for the last several years. Bad time to buy a home. So these are lots of consumers saying, yeah, there's an issue here. And I never really talked about it much because I'm like, honestly, never even crossed my mind as I'm doing a million of these videos on housing, that when someone goes to sell their house and capitalize on the high prices right now, the only way to capitalize is what I've done and what I told everybody that they should do if they're thinking about this a few years ago. I said, you need to get in when that housing market, as it's climbing up, and it was, if you're going to sell your home, you sell at the top. You don't go and buy a home. You rent like I'm going to do. And that's what I've been doing for the last almost 2 years, renting. Now, we had the one house the other day that was like, oh my gosh, if I can get into that house, we're just going to have to make that work. Made them a lowball offer. They didn't even kind of accept. End of story. That's gone. But in a case like that, had they have come close even, I'd be like, okay, well, let's work on that. Let me bump the offer up a little bit. And we might have been outie, gone, moving to the new house. But it would have been quite well underpriced at that point, even if we had to come up a little bit. So, but again, in a scenario like that, it works. But they said, no, we've got much higher cash offer. We're not going to accept that. Okay, no problem. So we're gone. But if you want to capitalize and like play this game, you sell any day now. Like, again, housing market's all time high. Yeah, what are you waiting for if you're thinking about it? Get out of your house. And then you rent. But rent is kind of high too. I understand. But you rent and wait it out for a couple years. Maybe only take a year. Who knows how fast this housing bust 2.0 is going to really take effect and get the gears going. That's when you go in with all this cash we got. Now let me buy a house. Now you're good to go. But if you're not in that position and you're in the position of we got a house that's way overpriced right now, we feel good about selling it, we're going to downsize a little bit, we're going to find a smaller house, and you do, but you also realize, man, the so-called profit we got from our house, we're going to have to put in this other house, this house, so in reality, we're selling one high-priced house to buy another high-priced house. Even though it's cheaper than the one we had, it's smaller, etc. Right? That's the only way it might make sense. But if you thought to yourself, I'm going to sell my house and then move into the same like size house, same kind of value, I mean, there's no point in that, right? Unless you got riffraff next to you and you're just dying to get away the hell away from riffraff. Then you might say, the hell with this. We're selling this house. We're going to take that money and gain nothing and go get the hell out of here and move to another house. But this is an issue when housing prices are high because you can't get out and get back into something. You basically have to sit it out. But if you sit it out by not selling, you lose on the top prices. So the only way to play that game is what I told you a while back. Sell it and rent. And when I first mentioned that strategy, rent wasn't that high. Rent wasn't out of control like it is now. Now it is. So now what do we do? Sell the house and rent high. I mean, that's kind of your only choice. But there's a way around that slightly. If you're used to living in or close to the city, you know what those rent prices are. If you get a little ways out of the city, those rent prices will come down. But then you have to say, well, do I want to drive instead of driving 15 minutes to work? Do I want to drive 30 to 45 minutes or an hour to work? Again, decisions, because then, well, how much is gas? What is it going to cost me? You got to figure out all those things, right? Bottom line is when the bankers got involved in this and caused all these problems, and the central bank is now causing more problems with the problems the original bankers caused. Now the central banks are all in this, causing prices, the bubbles to keep going. Can you see how this just affects everybody? Every little thing they do, freaking everybody's affected. So even when housing prices are high, you still might not be able to make out, oh, we waited our house for years, our housing prices are super high, we're going to take a big profit. And then when you move to your next house that you want, all your profit's gone, down payment and then some, and then you're back to essentially paying what you were paying before. Because the difference that you owe is still a lot more money than what the house is really worth because we're at an all-time high, right? This is just so messed up, which is why if we can all play these Bitcoins and Ethereums and all these coins, these cryptos, if we can freaking play this right, if we can just have a little luck in our corner, when so far we do have a lot of luck in our corner, wouldn't it be nice to say, I don't even have to play in these games. Yeah, the housing market's kind of high right now, but I just bought my dream house, gave them all the cash, and I only owe $100K on it, so I got a $100K mortgage, right? Because maybe you didn't make enough with your cryptos to buy it in full. That would still be a fantastic story to tell. But let me go ahead and continue this and finish this. So they say, he says, but it's a great time to sell. Americans who say it's a good time to sell increased by 4 points to 61%, a new record in the survey high. Americans who say it's a bad time to sell dropped 29%, another new survey low again. So it says, but Americans remain conflicted. Those who think home prices will rise over the next 12 months fell 5 points to 48%, with only 8% thinking they will actually fall. Only 8% thinking they'll actually fall prices over the next 12 months. At the same time, 56% say that mortgage rates will rise, though rising mortgage rates will pressure home prices that have been re-inflated too, and in many cities far beyond the levels of the prior housing bubble peak. The results show that Americans, aware of how far housing prices have surged, are losing their appetite for buying a home at these prices, and they're building up an appetite for selling. This is not propitious for the market. If they were investors in the housing market rather than homeowners, they could sell easily enough, right? Because if you're an investor, it's just an investment property. You're already living in your house. You're not planning on buying, selling, nothing. You don't even care about the price right now, high market or low market. You don't even care. You've got investment properties, and you're saying, well, all those 4 or 5 houses I own are up significantly. They're the highest they've ever been. You, in that case, may say, I think I'm going to sell all 5 and get the hell out. And then wait for a year or two. And then all the prices come back down. And then you buy, I've got enough money to buy 6 houses instead of 4. Because I waited, markets came down, and I was, again, now I own 6 houses instead of 4, and I'm going to rent those out. All paid for in cash, of course. Rule number 1, do not ever buy a house with a mortgage and then rent it to somebody. Like that's a strategy. Like we're going to just buy a house, rent it, charge $100, $200 over rent. Or even if we just pay rent, just get the rent covered, we're fine. Or get the mortgage covered via rent. No, because if something breaks in the house, you're done. Air conditioner, $3, $4, $5 grand. Oops. How many years charging $100 or $200 a month extra for rent? Is it going to take you to pay back that AC job that they just destroyed? Your renters. That's why if you actually physically own it, no mortgage, you're good to go, because every single penny they give you, not all of it, but because you're going to have to pay taxes and other crap, whatever. Most of it is profit. So you could easily say, your air conditioner's down, 3 months rent will cover that. No problem, right? So in that case, it makes sense. But again, investor, it makes sense because they can sell it at the top, sit back on the cash, wait for the market to come down, and then get back in it. The same you would do with markets, the same we're trying to do with these cryptos. They fall, we buy more, etc. But since they're homeowners who live in their homes, let me start over on that paragraph. If they were investors in the housing market rather than homeowners, they could sell easily enough. But since they're homeowners who live in their homes, for them, selling their home means having to buy something else or renting, and suddenly they realize they're stuck and cannot sell, even though it may be a great time to sell, because they cannot afford to buy precisely because it's a bad time to buy, unless they move to a much cheaper city, and that's not always possible, which is what I was just talking about. Or if you don't, you're moving to a different city. I just meant possibly staying in the same city if it's possible, but 15, 20 minutes away from your job or more like 30 to 45 minutes away. But then again, when you're 30, 45 minutes away, there's a good chance you're in another city. So again, you got to weigh all these decisions. Not only are you going to do that, now I'm going to buy a little cheap gas. Let me go buy a freaking Prius. Or if you do what Jason Nipford did, let me buy a fully electric car, 2015 electric Nissan Leaf. I'm going to say it again because I can't get enough of saying this. I have to. $30,000 car, brand new. Had 14,000 miles on it, 2 years old, 2015. 14,000 miles, I got it for 10 grand. TampaHybrids.com. But you can look on Craigslist and you find these deals all over the place. Why? Because the auto apocalypse is taking place too. The lease turn-ins, they go right to auction, they get sold and bought by places like Tampa Hybrids, who then sell them to people like me, which means they probably paid $8,000 for that car, sold it for me for 10, and are very happy, along with myself being happy included, not even caring, not even trying to talk them down, even $100. Can you knock $100 off? No. I didn't even ask them. How much is this car? 10? Well, taxes, fees, about 11 grand total. Here you go. Half on a credit card, half out of the bank account. Have a nice day. And now I find myself in the position of, how I'm telling myself, how you always pay down your credit card rapidly? Yeah. Are you sure you want to pay it down rapidly right now with the cryptos? Wouldn't you like to take the extra money you'd be paying down on that card the second you get it, the money, and dump them into cryptos? Because by the time you pay this car off in, let's say, a few months, if you put most of that money, make your payments, of course, in the car, decent payments, but not huge payments. And you take that money and you invest it in cryptos instead. In a few months, not only could you pay the car off with the cryptos you bought, but you'd have extra cryptos left over that you use with that same money. Meaning, you kind of won the lottery, so to speak, and somebody paid your car off for you and gave you a bunch of money on top of it. It's kind of how that works out. I just have to see at this exact moment, I just have to see, whenever I start talking about cryptos, you know, I have to, I can't help myself. Ethereum, $332, Bitcoin touching 3,000 right now as I'm talking. And Ethereum's down 0.32%, which means that's not the all-time high. And I want to see the all-time high, if you don't mind. What we got here? $346 right here. 346 flipping dollars. Ethereum. Webbot told you and I told us both it's going to go to 500 and I think 34, somewhere 43, 34. Won't take too long to get there. This is around the time when this Webbot report came out. I'm trying to think if Ethereum was around $200 at the time or 190. I don't even know, somewhere around there. And now it's 300 again. The high, and that was today, the 11th, as I'm doing this, at approximately 4:27 p.m. And I'm looking at the, which exchange is this? Kraken exchange. $346. Ethereum. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So does anyone think it's insane? Because I heard a few comments. Oh, it's not going to 500 Ethereum. Anytime we go high. Okay, it was just 210. Like I said 11 days ago, it was 210. 230, 250, 70, 80, 300. Oh my God, 330. New record high, 346. 346. But let's not forget what the Webbot said. Right around the middle of this month, 15th or so, it appears that there may be like a plateau of cryptos kind of just chilling. Like, doesn't necessarily mean a crash, although there could be a heavy pullback. It looked like it kind of plateaued. So this, what we're seeing now the last 3 days, like, oh my God, they're freaking taking off like crazy. Excuse me, that may chill a little bit for several days and then start back up again, like towards the end of the month. That does not mean there'll be a crash. That does not mean anything like that. That's just what the data was saying. So bottom line is, you know darn well Ethereum's going to $500 something like the Webbot said. You know this. And all I'm thinking of is Veritasium. When the exchange comes online, whatever one that might be, Kraken, Poloniex, again, probably one of those two if I had to guess. Those are the top two exchanges. Whoever lists it, you better make sure if you have Veritasium, you've got an account there. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it's Poloniex or Kraken. My Kraken account is finally set now, by the way. Finally got approved, Tier 3. Finally. Like Thursday or Friday of last week. Or this past week, just 2-3 days ago. I do have a Poloniex account, but I'm on Tier 1, Tier 2, and then status waiting, Tier 3. You know, I submitted what they requested. So I'm hoping by the time we hear, hey, such and such exchange will have Veritasium, my stuff will be good to go. The good news is I can still trade the Veritasium on a platform such as Kraken. And we're hoping to see crazy numbers like we already saw on the Ether Delta exchange, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 2-to-1. Talk about banking, making bank unbelievably. That's the kind of numbers I'd love to see. And if that happens, and it happens to be on Kraken because that's where they have it, I'll be selling on Kraken whatever monetary value it says I now have. I will probably immediately go into split that 50-50 Bitcoin and Ethereum. This depends. I might put them all in Ethereum or what. I'm not sure. And I say that because Ethereum transfers so much faster. Bitcoin doesn't, especially when there's a lot of volume. It takes time to actually transfer it to another account of yours, like your wallet or whatever. And in my case, I may be sending it to either Coinbase or Gemini.com, both of which I can also cash out with Cash Money. You can also or maybe it's not Kraken. Maybe you can't Kraken. I can't remember. But anyways, my game plan, even if you can cash out in cash on Kraken, I don't think you can. Polynix can't either. But my strategy was to, whatever I did with that, because again, if you're doing Veritasium, you have to sell it for Ethereum basically. But if it goes on the exchange, this exchange, not the EtherDelta exchange, if it goes on this exchange, the Kraken one, or Polynix, either one, you can then just sell it, flat out do a sell order. It doesn't have to be through Ethereum or whatever. It could be for whatever, cash or Bitcoin or whatever. So my plan was, if it's cash that it says I got such and such in my account, then immediately place an order for Ethereum, let's say. Whatever market value I'll buy. Now I've got those transactions. They're done. I have a ton of Ethereum all of a sudden in my account on, let's say, Kraken or Polynix. Send that over to my Gemini wallet or my Coinbase wallet, and then start selling. Sell order, sell order, sell order. Market price limit. I mean, you should do a limit order anyways, because a limit means you only will accept this dollar amount for each and every one of your coins. If you do a market, it'll kind of take the top orders down and just, kind of put them in that way. And I don't think it would go down too much with you doing a sell order. But again, you can just do a limit order, which tells it I'm only selling for this price. And you might even undercut it. Say, oh, it's it's going for $350 right now. I'm going to put it in there for $349.79. The entire lot of them sell all. And you may find, bloop, they all sell, because you just kind of undercut the market a slightly little bit. But my plan, again, was to take whatever it is, convert it into either Ether or Bitcoin. In this case, I might have to just do Ether, like I said, transfer those over to Coinbase or maybe both, Coinbase and Gemini.com, and then sell them for cash there, and then transfer the money right to my account. Hey, can you do a wire transfer? Gemini, I heard, is from the Winklevoss brothers, the ones who tried to get the ETF for Bitcoin that were denied by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Stand-up guys, allegedly good people. They run Gemini, I heard. So I thought to myself, maybe that's where I'll go. Forget Coinbase, because you have the limits. You can only do this much per month. And I'm like, when I'm going to sell, baby, it's going to be a pretty big number, I think, if we can time this right. I don't have time to be waiting $15,000 a month sell orders. Ain't happening. Or is it a week? Maybe it's a week. Let me go over to Gemini, do a massive sell order, and then transfer that, because I'm hearing people, and again, I think Kraken, you can sell for USD on Kraken as well, because I remember reading some stuff recently. People like, hey, I'm trying to deposit money into Kraken and I can't. I'm waiting days and it's just like in limbo. What's happening? Can you look into this? They're getting support requests. I've got the opposite occurring. We're trying to take $20,000 out of Kraken and put it in my account. It's been going on for 2 weeks. It's still there. What the hell's happening? And the guy said, I've told him to just cancel it, stop the order, or to get to my bank account, just stop it. Give me my money back. Just put the money in the account. I'll do an order right now to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. They did, and then transferred it out of Kraken into some other exchange like Coinbase or wherever the hell they went. Then sold it there, got the USD, and then put the USD in the wallet, because they said Kraken was just out of control, crazy, taking too long. There's so much going on over there, like the people can't keep up. I'm kind of hoping when we get to that point that, the point of time to sell, they've got their act together. They've got tons of employees. We're not hearing these cases of, trying to get your money out, taking days and weeks to get out because they're just so backed up. But again, there's always the quicker way of turning your money back into Bitcoin or Ethereum, and then immediately sending that over to like Coinbase or Gemini, which I keep telling you, and then unloading it there, take the cash there, and then move it. So the issue is, we're talking Veritasium. If you are just thinking in yourself Ethereum or Bitcoin or something, you want to unload those, then don't mess with Kraken or anything else. You might just want to go straight over to Gemini and have when it comes time to sell, take them out of your wallet, send them right to Gemini, and make a sell order there. But you do need to look at what each market, each exchange is selling for. They're usually relatively close, but you can go to like Kraken or Coinbase or Gemini and say, what's the high, what's the Ethereum selling for right this second? And notice all three exchanges show a little different number, and they could be off several dollars. Are you going to be too upset about that? Probably not. If you're unloading, $200-300 Ethereum all of a sudden, you're throwing away $200 to $300 if it's a dollar difference. If it's $2 difference, you're throwing away $600. However, you just made, $150,000, that kind of a thing. So it's not really a big deal. And you're getting your money out. It's safe. It's going into your bank. Gemini worked great. It was fast. No problems. Bada bing, bada boom. Everybody's happy. This is going to be a weird thing to have to deal with, I'm telling you, when it comes time to get your coins out. Move it over here, put it in that exchange. That one's taking too long. I got to take it out of here. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy, but it's going to be well worth it, because once you get in and get out, you're done. You're set. And I don't think I'll ever be completely out, if I'm to be honest. I'll always have at least some Ethereum and some Bitcoin. It may not be a lot, just in case the day comes where we say, oh my God, it's been 3, 4, 5 years since back in the day when it went crazy. It never stopped. People who own a single Bitcoin is worth, $500,000 or, something ridiculous. Ethereum's, $10,000. And you say, oh, I've got a few of those, right? You'd be pretty happy. That's why I would not sell every single bit that I have, but don't think for 1 second I won't sell most and take that profit and run, because that's my plan. Take care.